Hey, fellow warriors. Welcome to the Ezer Mindset podcast with your host, Altimese Nichole. She's an award-winning founder to the Ezer Agency, a philanthropist, mother, daughter, and friend. Here with the Ezer Mindset podcast, we cultivate a safe space and community to be inspired by women worldwide that strive to be the best version of themselves boldly, softly, and unapologetically. And Ezer is a warrior created to help. So let's begin to help one another in family, fun, faith, life, and love.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to yet another episode of the Ezer Mindset podcast with your host, Altimese Nichole. We are here talking everything inspiration, empowerment of our fellow Ezers and the women in our lives that just inspire and empower and encourage us to continue to move forward in all of our journeys as they do the same and look amazing doing it. And I am so very, very excited to have a very amazing, wonderful, and dear friend of mine, Emily Maclin, with me today. She is the amazing CEO and founder of Think Legacy Financial Coaching, and she is a wife, a mommy of 3, and her foundation is rooted in faith and finance. So y'all, today we gonna be talking money, honey. And I am so glad to have you, Emily. Like, let me just tell you, I've been scouting you out this whole time. When I was like, look, I'm going to have to do this podcast. Jesus, I'm going to have Emily on here. The whole time.
I sure appreciate that. I sure do.
Girl, so how did your journey with money and finance come about? Because, in the Black community, it's just something, we don't really talk about. We're taught that, what goes on in our house, stay in our house. And, money matters is none of people's business and all of these things. So, like, how did you get here?
So let's see. So my background is in accounting. So money, numbers is always been one of those things that I have just always had a knack for, right? And I can remember kind of writing down my first budget, get my first little job at Kmart when I was like 16 years old on the back of an envelope. Like, I just always was been very diligent with, my money. Like, if I'm getting $100, I'm going to write out where it's going before I actually get that $100. And I've just always been that way. So I guess it is just one of the gifts, if you will, that God has just blessed me with as far as, being a diligent steward with finances. Now, I have not been perfect. Now I got my stories now. Let me just say that. But, like many of us, I had to learn some things the hard way as well. But just to go back, my background is in accounting. I have a degree in accounting from Tennessee State. And I've spent the last 20 years in corporate finance. So I've been doing budgeting and forecasting and all things numbers for 20 years corporately. And I started this business supporting women in their personal finances in 2018. So I am, we're in 2023, almost, it'll be 5 years at the end of this year that I've been doing it as a business. Now, in 2022, I left my corporate job to do this full time. And so it's been a year that I've actually been doing this as my full-time career, which when I started this, I just did not see how that was possible. Like, it was just a little side hustle thing, helping people. And here I am, by the grace of God, doing it full time and just learning and growing every single day. But, again, it was one of those things I will always had a knack for, and I didn't even know financial coaching was a thing before I actually started being a financial coach. And I'll tell you what actually really like moved me toward this. My husband is a sports junkie. He loves to watch sports documentaries, and I don't know if you ever watched like the 30 for 30 series or any of those
Yes.
like ESPN documentaries. And he would always tell me, hey, come watch this one about somebody that made, $50 million and now they're broke after their basketball career, their football career. And
Mm.
I just, that was initially, I wanted to be a coach, a financial coach for athletes because I
Mm.
had such a burden in my heart, and I still do. I had such a burden in my heart for those athletes that would make all of this money and then lose it. And
Mm.
so that really was like the first kind of seed in my mind when I would be watching these different documentaries and just feeling so terrible for these people. And I know most people don't feel terrible for them, right? Because they
Right.
done made 50 million and then they, foolishly lost it or
Mm.
spent it or just mismanaged it. But I felt such a burden of, gosh, what can I do? Like, I need to be working with like NBA players and NFL players, these young kids coming in, getting all this money and no knowledge to manage it. Like, that just
Yes.
felt so heavy to me and just so unfair. I didn't see them as doing something bad, but I just really felt bad for them, the situation that they were in. And so that's what
Mm.
initially like dropped the seed. And it is like, well, you got to start somewhere. You may not start with working with athletes on day one, but you got to start somewhere. And so just through a series of events of just feeling a lot of unsatisfaction in corporate finance and getting
Mm.
satisfaction in this, job, like helping
Yes.
friends and things like that, and just kind of evolved, like started to pursue it, became a business, and then I got some beta clients, and then I got some real clients, and
Yes.
it just kind of
And girl, you
kept
taking off,
going.
girl. You taking off. So like, okay, so you've been like this all your life, right? Like the numbers just a thing. You probably got that 20 from your allowance and was like, "Ooh, how am I going to divide this up?" Right?
I did.
But like what have you noticed a common thread in your clients, like in the mindset of your clients that you would like to share with us in terms of like kind of those moments of like, this seems a bit familiar. Like what would those points of like those mindset things that you have consistently noticed over time when you work with people?
So first of all, everybody thinks they need more money.
Mm.
And the reality is, most of us need more financial responsibility,
Come
right?
on now.
So it's like getting over that hump that you actually have enough money. You need more financial responsibility. And most of the women that I work with are mid career. When I say mid career, they're late 30s, they're early 40s. They earn well. They
Yeah.
know how to earn. Earning is not a problem. Management is. They
Mm.
are six-figure earners for the most part, but guess what? They got six figures of expenses that come right along with it, which leaves them
Right.
feeling as though they have nothing.
Mm.
So it's getting over that mindset of I'm. Most of them they say things like, "I make too much to be this broke.
Mm.
I don't have any money. I don't know where my money goes." So it's just like this disconnect of these habits that they have or don't have, these, they don't have good money management habits, but never really, investigating those beliefs, investigating those habits, those
Yes.
attitudes that they have towards money and how it's impacting them today. Many of
Mm.
them have very humble beginnings and find themselves in a position of, now I'm earning, let me go get the big house, let me go get the nice car.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of this stuff is people financing feelings. It's a lot of it is people spending to feel good, spending to feel important, spending to feel feelings that they want to feel. I just had a conversation recently with a client about this. She says
Mm.
to me, "I spent over $3,000." I said, "Why? Where? What?" because I wanted to help this person and I wanted to do this. And I said, why did you want to do those things? Because I wanted to feel good.
Mm.
I wanted to feel
Wow.
good about doing this. There's nothing wrong with wanting to help people. But if helping someone else is hurting you, are you helping?
Right. 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 Oh
Are
yeah.
you
Oh yeah.
helping? So I had to tell her, you realize you're financing your feelings. You're buying feel good feelings, right? Is
Yes.
this helping you? Is this helping you? So we always have to ask the question, is this helping?
Mm.
Is this
Mm.
habit helping me? Is this attitude helping me?
Yeah. And see, my mom, I'm grateful because my mom is kind of like you. She's been in finance for the government as a civilian, worked on budgets for 20, 30 years. People go to her to do their financial budget and
Mm-hmm.
their personal planning and all that. So that has been my mom, right? And I remember when I was younger, and I think it was probably right after I graduated or right before I graduated college. And she told me, she said, "Listen," she said, "people going to think that you're crazy for having this perspective." She said, "But if you ever get down to a place where you have to decide between paying your bill and getting grocery, and all you have is a little bit of money in the bank," she said, "I'm gonna need for you to pay that bill." And she said, "Pay that bill." And she said, "And after you pay that bill, because more than likely your credit is real good, go on and walk yourself down to that bank down the street, get you a 0 APR loan for 18 months or 12 months or however. You get that 0 APR loan, and then you go get your grocery."
That's right.
Because she said everything in America is based off of that credit score. She said, so you want to make sure you keep that credit score good. And as you keep that credit score good, anything in America, it's like your report card, your financial report card. She said, anything in America you'll be able to get. She said, you may not have no money in the bank, but if that credit score is excellent, they'll give you something. They'll help you out. And it stuck with me. It stuck with me. And she also told me never to co-sign for nobody.
Yep.
And she said, if I give and if I loan money, consider it a gift.
It's a gift.
She
It's a
said,
gift.
consider it a gift. She was like, don't have loan money out that you can't. And I think that's where you going with it. Don't loan money out or give money to someone else that you personally, if you let this money go, you will feel it. Your family will feel
Exactly.
it. And
Exactly.
it just stuck with me. It stuck with me. But I will tell you this though, because she had that mindset. I
Mm-hmm.
remember reading the book "You Are a Badass,"
Mm-hmm.
Jen Sincero, and
Mm-hmm.
in that book, there's an exercise where you write a letter to money, because she talks about the fact that money itself, it's not good or bad. What makes it
It's
good
not.
or bad is like the person using it. So like if
Mm-hmm.
you could have $100, and that same $100 could either be in the hands of someone who just blessed somebody with it,
Mm-hmm.
or it could be in the hands of somebody who stole it from their grandma.
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
money itself is not the bad thing, it's the intent behind the
Right.
money.
Right.
So I was like, okay. I was like, all right, let me figure out what my relationship with
Yes.
money is, because
Yes.
it shows up how it is allowed to show up in my life. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It is a reflection of something. And in
Mm-hmm.
that moment, I recalled that on to this day, on my little birth certificate that my mom got laminated on the back, she actually did a budget. I don't think she realized that it was the back of my birth certificate. Like she
Wow.
literally had a she wrote she I don't know what bills it was, but it was like it was like outlined on my on my birth certificate, and I still have it to this day. And I was like, man, and I realized my mom, she was so good at what she did,
Mm-hmm.
and money showed up exactly how she allowed it,
Mm-hmm.
and it was passed on to me
I love
to
that.
where like girl. Like I would be like, how I just got paid and I ain't got no money. Or I say, I'd be like, man, I just, I'm paying these bills with all this. That's what the money going to, the bills. And literally, that's exactly what it would be. That is literally exactly what it would be. And I had to realize it was in here. It was my mindset. And it was how I was thinking about it, and how I was cultivating a relationship
Yep.
with the money in my life and being a steward over it that was actually impacting all types of things.
Lots of different things. And like you're saying, like the meaning that gets assigned to money, it varies from person to person because our experiences with it vary, what we
Yes.
witnessed varies. Like all of those
Yes.
things have shaped how we assign meaning to money.
Yeah.
And when you mention relationship with money, I always give this example that think about, if you've been in a relationship with another person and
Mm-hmm.
how much, you liked to see their name pop up on the caller ID, how
Mm-hmm.
you wanted to get that phone call. Like you could be
Mm-hmm.
in the middle
Come
of
on with it,
something.
girl.
You're going to stop. You're going to pick up that phone call. Like, because you can't wait to hear their voice in the phone telling you how fantastic you are, telling you how much they want to see you. You want to see them. Like,
Yes.
when you're building a relationship with somebody, you want to do it. Like, you want to be around them. You want to know them. You want to talk to them.
Yes.
But it's the same thing. Like the feelings that you have, the emotions that you have around that, they are really impacting the actions that you're taking around
Yes.
building that relationship. So
That's
I
good.
always say if someone has negative feelings towards money, they've had negative experiences, that's going to show up in their actions. They're going to avoid it.
Yes.
They're going to, money is bad. I don't want it. I don't want to be around it. And they're going to subconsciously sabotage
Yes.
anytime they get money. If you subconsciously feel a certain way about money, it's going to show up in your actions. Just like if consciously and subconsciously feel a certain way about a person that you want to be with, your actions are going to show it.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's stick there for a second. So let's hypothetically say that's the case. How do you how do you change that? Right? Because I'm sure there's somebody listening like, oh my goodness, like my relationship with money is jacked. How do you change? Like, what are the steps? What are the steps to start to identify and change that narrative?
You gotta create awareness at first. Like most people feel the pain of, you know, not having enough money to between paychecks, right? They
Right.
feel that when they need to get something they don't have the money. They feel not having savings when they need it. Like they feel these tangible things of the emotional experiences that it create when there's a deficit somewhere. So first of all, you got to acknowledge those feelings and acknowledge, okay, I got to do something differently, right? It's got to
Right.
hurt enough for you to even start asking the questions or you to even start to say, I got to do something different. And, I know what to do, right? We all know better, but we just don't do better, right? So it's
Right.
acknowledging that there is something there. And this is where most people often go wrong. They often, once they create some awareness around it, they want to acknowledge this as good or bad.
Mm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I want people to know that it's not the feeling or the action. I don't want you to get stuck on I'm bad because I'm doing this thing wrong. I want you to understand what the habit, what the mindset, what the belief is, and then determine is the impact or outcome hurtful or harmful. So really
Mm.
tracing back to whatever the habit, mindset, or belief is. And that starts with just asking questions. What was your experience growing up? What did you hear? I tell you, most of us, probably right now to this day, they say things that our parents said about money. Like it just comes
Yes.
out. Or we
Yes.
have the
Yep.
same thoughts that we heard them often verbalizing around money. And so
Mm.
it starts with just asking yourself questions. What were the things that I heard when I was growing up? How did my parents feel about money? What did they say about money? How did they feel whenever bills came? You know what I'm saying? If we look at our own habits, excuse me, around money, we will probably see some of the same habits
Mm.
that our parents did. Did they complain when unexpected bills came? Do we
Right.
complain? Do we panic? What's your first reaction when you get an unexpected bill?
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's creating some awareness to like stop and look at yourself. What are you doing? And that
Yes.
is not always easy to do by yourself. But when
Right.
you're working
Right.
with, someone like me, a money coach, I'm gonna be asking you some questions. You know, I'll be asking you some questions. I
Right.
I want to know what do you do on payday? Like,
Yeah.
do you get excited about money and go spend it all? Like, what are your patterns? What do
Yeah.
you do the day before payday? How do you feel? Like, it's money is emotional. Money is emotional, and you gotta recognize what the emotions are and what is the impact. What is the outcome?
Yes.
That's what you want to
Yes.
label as good or bad. Not necessarily that the emotion might not be ideal, because we all have a range of emotions. Don't get stuck on that. But what is the impact and what is the outcome? Because if you can see the impact is not ideal, the impact is hurting you. Okay, so let's dial it back. Let's focus on what we need to change in order to change the impact. And so that's usually the beliefs, the habits, the mindsets,
Yep.
like, and we're just gonna ask questions. We're gonna
Yes.
ask questions and reflect on experiences in life, and the dots slowly start to connect.
Yes. What do
Slowly
you
start to
tell
connect.
people who struggle with that whole, I'm not telling my business. I don't want you to know how much money I have. Like, don't be counting my coins. What? How does that impact our financial growth?
That's part of that, avoidance.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have a lot of shame and
Mm.
pride, embarrassment. Like, that's the hump that you're going to have to get over if you really want to be ready to change your finances. Some people just need time to get ready
Yeah.
to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like, it takes time for people to do that. What I've realized and what I've seen is, I get on the phone with clients and they're like, I've been following you for 4 months, and I've been, I click on the button and then I think about all the debt that I got, and then I couldn't do it. I couldn't do
Mm.
it. So I recognize that when people finally come to me and say, I need help, that has been a journey in itself.
Yeah.
And people just they have to just be ready. And that readiness, it takes time for everybody. It's different for everybody, but it has to hurt bad enough sometimes for you to actually say, I need some help with this. Or you just got to get to the I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired point. And that's
Mm-hmm.
different for everybody. But like I said, I recognize that even getting to the point to say, I need help, I'm ready to, show you what's going on. That's hard for people because of the
Yeah.
shame, because of the embarrassment.
Yeah.
Those things typically, they do stunt your financial growth.
Yeah.
Shame is such a powerful tool of the enemy, um,
Mm.
not only in money but just across the
In
board.
life.
Shame makes
Yes.
us hide. Shame makes us hide from solutions that are waiting for us, for solutions that are right
Yes.
there if we just
Yes.
expose it. Like, that's the
Yes.
way you get rid of the shame, is exposure. Just talking about it.
Yes.
Just talking
Yes.
about it. And I try to let people know, look, I have seen a lot. I have seen a lot in my own finances. And as bad as you think it is, it's not nearly as bad in reality. And
Yeah.
even if it is, guess what? We can fix it. It's
Yeah.
money. We can fix this.
I know
As long
that's
as you're
right.
willing to do the work, we can fix it.
Yes.
When I remember when I first came into accounting, in my 20s, working at a corporation. And, in accounting, you do journal entries, debits and credits or whatever. And I remember one of my managers telling me, like, everything is fixable. If
Mm.
we wrote a journal, it was wrong, we write another one to fix it. And I feel like money is the same way. And I think one of the things that really makes me um, impactful in this space is I understand what it takes to really bounce back after a financial disaster. I didn't share all of my story, but in my 20s, I had a really, really big mess up,
Mm.
like a big $1 million mess up. And so I understand, and I thought I was done when I messed up so bad. And most people feel like I have messed up too bad. I'm too old. I too. All of these things, right? But my one of my core messages is it's not too late. I don't care who you are. I don't care how bad you done messed up. But I know what it takes to bounce back from a financial disaster. And there is hope on the other side. There's hope on the other side of all that debt. There's hope on the other side of all those, debt collectors calling. There's hope on the
Yes.
other side of any and everything that you have done.
Yes.
Bankruptcy, foreclosure, like there's hope on the other side. And all you need is time and being willing to do the work that's required. That's work
Yeah.
on yourself. That's work on your money. That's work on your savings. It's work to just get yourself into a better financial position. But that starts, like you're saying, up here with mindset.
Yes. Yes. And it is so true about the transparency. Like, that's one of the things that I definitely learned from my mom, where like we never shied away from conversations about money.
Mm-hmm.
I became an adult talking about my bills, like saying, oh, I bought my townhouse at 21, my first
Yep.
townhouse. And I was like, oh, okay, well, this how much I pay. And everybody like, well, why you telling everybody your business about the townhouse? And I'm like, what you mean? Like, this is what you do. And when I got my last corporate job as a social media director at a creative agency, I had the absolute pleasure of being around a circle of people who didn't look like us,
Mm-hmm.
but they were millionaires.
Wow.
And how they spoke about money, how they engaged with one another, how they talked freely
Mm-hmm.
about money matters and all of that. And I was like, wow. Like, the mindset was totally different. And it helped me to understand that we have to be open. We have to
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily expose these things, but bring them to light, so that
Mm-hmm.
way when we get the opportunity to learn better, we can do better, but
Mm-hmm.
we can't learn something that we're
Don't
afraid
want to talk
to
about. Yeah.
share. Yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just it's a powerful thing, and now that I'm deeper in business, I'm like, I'm struggling right now, y'all. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm struggling with the difference between business money and my money. When I say I'm struggling, Jesus. I'm just, because my mom has ingrained in me this whole your home budget and all of this. And I'm trying to run my company with a home budget. And
Mm-hmm.
people, and like, my financial strategist, like, no, baby, no. You got projections, because you
Yeah.
have projections, and you have business credit. Don't use your credit. The business credit is different. And going to you, and I'm like, because she laughs at me because I still use my credit card for stuff, and she's just like, you can just use the business card, right? And I'm like, well, yes, but I have to pay it off. So like, I might as well just. And she was like, okay. She said, but you do realize that you're literally treating yourself like an employee,
Yeah.
and you're reimbursing yourself like back the money, when you could just have it go right to the business, right? And Emily, I struggle. Like, my brain is like not letting go of this mindset of like, if the money ain't in here, we don't
Mm-hmm.
have it. And that's
Mm-hmm.
not how business work.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's
Mm-hmm.
not the mindset. So it's like for me, it's like a totally different, I don't know, I'm trying to separate the two, and they're
Right.
still very much blended together.
Gotcha.
And it's
Gotcha.
like, ooh,
Yeah, you do. You gotta understand your cash flow of the business, and your salary, if you will, is just a portion of that business cash flow. But yeah, the business is going. It's its own entity.
it
It's
is.
it's its own thing.
But that's confusing, because I'm like, Azar got his own thing. Okay, girl, go do that. But you mine. But go and do your thing. But you mine. I wonder if that's how like parents with adult kids feel. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, You grown. Go and live your life with your mind.
With
Like
my, yeah, yeah,
I don't know. And I'm just it's an interesting shift because there is
yeah.
a mindset shift that is required. So like that's where I am with it and like just trying to figure it all out. But like, if there's someone who is just trying to understand and get their mind wrapped around starting a business in the first place, right?
Hmm.
And building that out, like everything starts in your mind, everything. And I
Woo.
love how you said that everything is fixable. Like let that sit, like everything is fixable. So you saying if somebody jacked up their credit, just bought everything, just went wild and lost their job, couldn't pay anything, debt collectors calling and all that crazy stuff, and it just tore up whatever credit that they had, they can still fix that?
They can fix it. They can fix it.
Girl.
All you need, go out and learn all you can about it. Do what you can do. And listen, time is your best friend.
mm,
It
mm,
just takes time, dedicated resources, and you being willing to go learn what you need to do, right?
mm,
You can fix it. You can
mm,
fix it. We often aren't willing to be patient enough to fix things. 7 years, 5 years, 3 years feels like a long time because we're so short term thinking.
mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So what would you tell someone who is contemplating potential bankruptcy or, um, kind of feeling overwhelmed in their financial situation?
Hmm.
Inflation is crazy. Everything for every groceries going. Eggs is $10 for some little eggs. What would you tell somebody who's just feeling extremely overwhelmed with
Hmm.
money matters right now and they trying to take care of their family but also not drown in the process?
Right, right. And I get it. Like I know that that is a common feeling amongst a lot of us. And I don't even it doesn't even matter the income level. I
Mm,
have worked with six-figure earners who are drowning. So, um, income doesn't matter, but what you do with that income matters most, right? So, if you are feeling overwhelmed, most of the time, our overwhelm comes from a couple of things. Number one is being unorganized. Number two is misplaced trust. Many of us put more trust in the money that we have in the bank or the money that's coming every 2 weeks than we put in our creator and the one who owns
ooh,
and created it all. So
ooh.
when we put that misplaced trust drives a lot of the anxiety that people have around money. So number one, get organized.
Mm,
I cannot tell you how many people that I ask them, okay, how much do you have coming in and how much needs to go out? Those are numbers that you should know.
mm-hmm.
Those are numbers that you should know. Many of us are paying things as they come due. Oh, this thing came in, it's pink now. It means I need to pay. Like you need to understand what your cash inflows are and your cash outflows are so you can clearly see if you have a deficit, meaning more goes out than what comes in, or if you
Mm-hmm.
have a surplus, more comes in than what needs to go out. When you
Mm,
clearly see whether you have a deficit or a surplus, that lets you know what direction I need to go.
mm-hmm.
If I have a surplus, okay, what can I do with that surplus? Can I pay down some debt to free up cash flow? Can I put a little bit aside to, create some savings? So understanding what your financial where you stand financially is very important because it gives you clarity on what your next steps are. So that's the first thing is getting clear on actually where you stand. What's coming in, what's going out.
Mm,
Get organized. Organize your expenses so that you know what may can be cut, what may could be optimized, what may
Mm-hmm.
can be eliminated, whether permanently or um, you know, temporarily. Like
Mm-hmm.
understanding your cash flow is key. Understanding your cash flow, like that's the very, very first thing as far as tangible, practical things that you can do to kind of lessen the overwhelm. Now, if you don't know these things, money feels overwhelming, ask for help. And I'm not saying ask for help from, a coach or something, though that's a great first step. But if you know someone who is good with money, or you think they're good with money, you got to be willing to put the pride and put the shame aside and say, hey, this is what I'm going through. Could you mind sitting down with me? Or do you have
Mm-hmm.
any tools that you could recommend that can help me kind of get organized with the money that I have?
Mm-hmm.
You got to open your mouth and advocate for yourself. You got to talk about it.
Yep.
And you got to share what's going on with someone, to really get some support. Like getting support is such a game changer. Like that's the superpower we all have, is asking for help
Yeah.
when we don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody wants, you shouldn't have to sit and suffer. And even if you can't afford to professionally engage in a relationship with a finance professional, find a friend or someone that you trust that you can share and ask them what tools they have. So get
Mm.
clear on what you got going on. Start to try to get organized and then ask for help. Ask
Mm-hmm.
for help. Don't suffer in silence.
Mm. Oh, I got my hand up. I got my hand up. I got my hand up. So, girl, there's an elephant in the room, and I would love for you to talk about that second one that you mentioned called misplaced trust. Woo! Now, Sister Emily, can you please break down what misplaced trust means?
How many of us have money yet we worry about money? You got money, but you still worried about money. So do you have money or does money have you?
Mm.
Do you have the money or does it have you?
Mm.
Right? And so oftentimes we are putting way too much trust in the money that we have. We are putting way too much trust in the money instead of the source of the money. And
Mm.
that's a whole mindset shift right there. Is the source. We don't own the money that we have. We're merely stewards of everything that we have.
Girl.
So we got to understand our role as stewards and not owners.
Whew,
And when
girl,
you
you got
got
me
that
rocking like
role,
I'm in church.
when you got that role
Go
mixed
ahead.
up, when you got that role mixed up, oh, you're gonna put your trust in the wrong thing. And you know what? This is, we've been groomed to think this way. This is how the world thinks about money, right? And
Mm.
so
Mm.
what does the word say? So I forgot to say I'm a believer, I think. So, just so we can
Yes,
see where this
yes.
conversation is going.
Yes.
But
Mm-hmm.
the word says, be not conformed to the world, and allow the word to transform your mind. That goes for money too. I know that when it comes to faith and finance, many of us often think, oh, it's tithing. Tithing is the first thing. But when I think about faith and I think about finance, I think about the fruit of the spirit. How can I show the fruit of the
Mm.
spirit in my money?
Wow.
How can I have self control? How can I use it for kindness, for goodness? How can I have joy in the way that I use my money? And I often think about other principles, like most of us are overspending.
Mm.
What does the word say about flesh? We need to be dying to self.
Mm-hmm.
Even when it comes to spending. Like
Mm.
we need to get some self control when it comes to spending our money and sacrificing the flesh, because the fleshly desires is what's driving us to overspend. So
Right.
I think that these biblical principles, even though they may not be financial in nature, they are applicable
Mm.
financially. And so, stewarding resources to me is about really taming the power that money has over our hearts. It's not just about the budgets, but it's about taming the power that money has over us, and us having that control over the money instead of it having us. Because that's what it boils down to. It. A lot of us, the money has us, and we don't have it.
Wow.
Because it's just money. It's just
Right.
money,
It's
y'all.
just money. It's just money.
We
just
should
money.
not be distressed over money.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't want to sound like an elitist or sound like I am not, I don't know. It's just money to me, and we have to keep money in its proper place.
Yes.
That's my bottom line. We have to keep money in its proper place. Money should not have us all out of sorts emotionally. But it does. I know it does. And that's the work that we have to do. I haven't always been not moved by money, and that's just work that we have to do. All of us,
Yeah.
because all of us bring our experiences and we bring our backgrounds where we grew up in environments where money moved us. If money was
Yes.
low, the environment was
It
low.
was low. Yeah.
If
Yep.
money was high, the environment
The
was high.
environment was high. Yep. Uh-huh.
you know and so that's one of those beliefs and attitudes that if we don't want to still keep living like this when it comes to money, then we have to do the work to stop. We have to do the work to not allow money to control us like that.
Woo. Girl, where is the collection plate? I don't understand. This was so good. So good. So good. My heart is singing. This was amazing. So please tell us, where can we find you?
Well, I spend most of my time on Instagram, on the
Okay.
gram. But I also have a website where you can kind of check out the things that I do, who I serve, how I serve them. I primarily serve one-on-one clients, but I also do corporate financial wellness programming. So you can find my website at www.emilymaclin, MACLIN.com. So that's emilymaclin.com. And my Instagram handle is think underscore legacy underscore financial coaching. So join me there. I also have an email list, so I stay in touch with those on my email list every single Wednesday. So if you would love to get here's some encouragement every Wednesday, please join my email list and let me know you heard me on the podcast. And, come on over to Instagram. Come over and let me know, drop in my inbox and let me know this is where you found me. I love to connect with folks on Instagram. So that's where I spend most of my time, but that's where you can find me.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Emily, for this amazing, phenomenal, dynamic conversation. And I just want to give you your flowers and say thank you so much for just sharing this wisdom with people, with the Azar community of women, of allies that, really need your help. And, it just affirms or confirms that they're in the right direction or it's time to pivot. So I just want to thank you so much for your time and everybody who has been listening. I know this has just been a word for your entire soul because y'all, I'm telling you, I'm over here rocking like an old lady in church. Where did this come from? So if I'm feeling it like this, I know y'all are feeling this. And thank you again for coming. And to all the listeners, I hope you enjoyed. And please feel free to stay connected with me at Altimese Nichole everywhere. Nichole. Nichole. Altimese Nichole everywhere. And we will catch you on the next episode. All right. Thank you. Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this podcast episode of the Ezer Mindset Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to stay connected and in the know of all upcoming inspiring conversations with Altimese Nichole and inspiring women from all around the world. Until next time, Stay soft and fearless, queen.
Hey, okay, so I know I told you all that we were closing out from this amazing conversation with Emily, but I have a confession to make. I kind of lied. We continued the conversation and it was absolutely amazing. And it was so good that I had to hit record and we had to keep going again. So consider this round 2 of the continued conversation with the lovely and beautiful Emily. Okay. I hope you guys enjoy and let us know your thoughts. Reach out to us, DM me on Instagram. I'm always there, y'all, always there. And I hope you all enjoy this amazing dynamic conversation as much as I did.
Well, I remember running one day, and when I run outside is when I often hear, the Holy Spirit like speaking to me and telling me things. And this was a few years ago. I don't know. I was maybe 4 or 5 years ago. He said, "Your purpose is to help people believe God."
Mm,
I people, believers who claim to be believers, they believe in God, but they don't believe God. They
yes, come
believe
on.
in God, but they don't believe
Believe
God.
God,
They don't
his
believe
character.
him. His character, his what he says, what his word says. He said, "You seek me first. Don't worry about nothing else. I got you.
Everything
Don't
else.
worry about what you gonna eat. Don't worry about what you gonna drink. Don't worry about what you gonna wear. I got you." And we don't believe it. We sit in church every single Sunday and we don't believe the words that we're reading in the Bible.
Mm,
We don't believe it.
we don't believe it. We don't believe it. Because I
We
think we
believe
hold
in
him,
God.
I think we
We know
hold
He's
him to the
real.
same standard that we hold people.
We do.
Because people say stuff all the time and they don't show up.
Mm-mm.
They'll say, "Oh, I got you," but when it's down to the wire, they're gone. So if I can see you and you act like this, but God, I can't see you. I can't see you, and I'm supposed to trust that you got me and my daughter and my
Mm-hmm.
and my and my family, and I gotta trust that you got me. I don't think we and it's amazing. It's amazing because he owns, this is his. This
All
whole
of it.
world is his. But and he says we're his kids, we're his children. How? How? Why would he keep it away from us? So obviously there's a disconnect somewhere. It's either in his character or it's in our ability to believe.
Boom.
It's out.
Boom.
Because I was
We
like,
don't
there
believe.
ain't no way God owns this entire world. He constructed every single thing down to the placement of the stars. And like he can't give me this $500 to fix this AC unit. You know what I'm saying? Like
I just feel like, okay, I may be off here, but I just don't think we shouldn't be struggling with money. Like I don't
mm,
think it's
I don't
supposed
think
to be
so
set up
either.
like this. Like
I don't think so either.
our money struggles are a distraction of the enemy. I wholeheartedly believe that. Like I just
Mm,
don't think we not supposed to be struggling like this. We
yeah.
not supposed to be struggling with money. This is not the way it's supposed to. I don't think God intended this. I
Mm-mm.
really do not think he intended this. Um, but yeah, it's the belief. And I like this is something I'm
Mm.
so hyper conscious of because when I really think about like the Israelites in Genesis, they didn't believe. And he made them wander for 40 years for unbelief. Like, yeah, like,
No,
for
the journey could have
unbelief,
been so short. And he's like, gone.
for
Go and figure it
unbelief.
out. Go and figure
So
it out.
when I see that, when I just really think about that, and I think about it often, like thinking about just because they didn't believe, like what does it take for me to believe?
And let me
What
tell
what?
you, I had this conversation with my cousin, and I think to this day, we still see it differently. We still see it differently. But I was like, I was reading this book, and I had like a aha
Hmm.
revelation where I was like, oh, there are two different dimensions of finances. There are two different dimensions. There is the work reward,
Hmm.
where I do something, I get paid for it. I do something, I get paid for it. And then there's the other dimension of just believing and it pops up. Like, and I was like, wait, so can I? I was like, really? Can I just like be like, yay, God, thank you so much for this money? And it like pop up. I tested it. And she was like, no, Nikki, I don't think you can do that. I don't think that's, no, because it, or maybe you did a deed and like now that it's coming back to you and all of this. And I was like, but no, God just said ask. He said, whatever, we can ask. So I started, when a bill would show up, I would be like, Lord, thank you so much. Acting like, girl, I felt crazy at first. Acting like it was money coming in versus like money going out. And I'd be like, thank you,
Yeah,
God.
yeah.
A check for $1.88 popped up first. And I said, oh, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Like, it's a little $1.88, but we gonna take it. I ain't asked for it. Thank you so much. And I said, okay, okay. During Thanksgiving, do you understand a random check just showed up at my house?
Wow.
I didn't, I wasn't looking for it. I wasn't seeking it. I don't even know what, like, it was like, oh, this from your Gap. Because I refinanced my car. I was
Ah.
like, my Gap? What? Like, oh, here, have this back. And I was like, okay, well, thank you. And I said, God, I think, I think we doing this wrong.
He be trying to help us believe.
I think we doing this wrong. And it's like the person who believes for the 500 and the person who believes for the 5 million, they both get it. Like, God gonna meet you at your level of faith.
Mm.
So if your level of faith is like, oh, my God on everything, so it just show up just because I am His. Like, He said He gonna take care of me, He gonna provide for me, so it's just gonna show up. I don't need no clients. It's gonna show up. And when I say I tested it and it works,
See, you helping me. You helping me. You
I
go
was
ahead. Go ahead
like,
and preach to me. Go ahead, minister to me. Minister to me.
I was like, Lord, what you doing? What you doing? Thank you. Thank you. And I realized the more gratitude and appreciation and like just thank you, God. Like the more I did that, the more that started happening. It just started, and I was like, oh, so this what people was talking about when it was like, oh, you can just like believe for stuff and it just like pop up, like you could just, oh, that's a whole different thing right there. And it's a matter of just understanding, number one, who gave it to you,
Mm-hmm.
and number two, being grateful for all,
Mm-hmm.
like the good, the bad, like that's what
All
I
of
said, like
it.
all of it, all of it.
All of it. Like even like the bad stuff, I don't even see it as bad anymore. Like
Yeah.
it's just a matter of perspective when it comes to
Yes.
anything. It's a matter
Yes.
of perspective because you know what the word tells me. All of this is gonna work out for my good.
Yes.
All of this is gonna
Yes.
work out for my good. I just gotta endure it. I gotta endure and understand that some of these things are tribulations that are meant to perfect my faith and meant to
Mm,
perfect the hope and the
mm,
belief that I have in Him.
mm.
They may not feel good, but there's purpose in them and purpose in me going through them,
Yes.
purpose in me being positioned to be there to go through that thing. But it's
Yes.
all gonna work out for me.
Always.
I
Always.
just I, I don't know, man. You just God is so good, and just as you
I
get to
know.
know Him, and like the more time you spend, and that's what 20 ever since 2020, like
That's
it's just been about knowing Him, getting to
that's me
know
too.
Him on a level that I never knew Him. I feel like I sat in the pews for 37 years. I'm 42 now, but the last five have been just about really getting to know Him, and I've come to that conclusion that because I was one of them, that we don't believe God. We believe in Him. We believe He exists, but we
Right.
don't believe
Right.
Him. We don't believe the things that
That he
have been
says.
spoken out of His
Yes.
mouth via His word. We don't believe it.
Yeah.
And every day that I spend in the Word, I'm just like, oh, this is so good. Why do people not read the Bible? It's so good.
Right. Right. It's just
It's
man.
so good.
And honestly, like just spending time with God. I know, like right after my divorce, I thought I was stuck
Hmm.
because a part of my healing through that was on my patio with God.
Mm.
That's where He did His deepest, best work. Me on that little swing out there on my back patio, just with Him and nobody
Hmm.
else, and it was just
Hmm.
us. And so, like, once I was going through that process, I would always I would think about just going to my patio just so I could spend time with God. Like it got so, and I was like, I don't know if that's what I'm supposed to be doing, And I remember talking to my therapist about it, and she said that is your meeting place with
Hmm.
God, and you've
Hmm.
become attached to it. She said, but
Hmm.
He with you everywhere.
Mm.
She said, you just realized and identified this presence in this specific area, and you got attached to it because it was kind of like a girl. I literally thought about whenever stuff came up, I'd be like, I just want to go
Yeah.
to my patio. I was like, I just want
Yeah.
to spend time with God. I just don't like. I just want to go there. I just want to go there, and
Hmm.
I'm still kind of like separating the two. But like when you feel that presence of God that just like it just
Yeah.
falls on
Yeah.
you to a place of like total peace and comfort despite what's
Hmm.
going on. When you
Hmm.
feel that,
Hmm. Hmm.
you don't
My
ever I
brother,
don't ever want to go back.
my brother sits on my parents' front porch every single morning, and he's recently went through a lot of health issues that he's overcome. He had a kidney transplant, but he was just saying, he was like, you need to be outside every single day. He was like, even just being the barrier, or not really the barrier, but the roof
Yeah.
blocks like that connection.
Yes.
He's like, just get
Yes.
outside and get in the presence of God every single day.
Yes. Life changing.
It,
Life change.
it
I have
is.
been out on the patio, sitting there praying, crying to God till the sun go down.
Mm.
And girl, a deer. Now, normally deers are little scaredy cats. They be like human, like like just run away.
Hmm.
This deer walked right, literally, right in front of me. Was eating my
Wow.
grass and just hanging out. Looked me in my face and was like, "What's up?"
Ah.
I ain't never seen nothing like that in my life. But when I say it was like a presence, a confirmation of like God is here,
Mm.
and you are covered, and you are. I just oh.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
nothing like him. It is nothing like him. Girl,
It's
I just want to thank
not.
you. This was
You're welcome.